laid out according to some sort of Masonic principles.
It is Masonic.
It seems to be a center of almost occult power.
It is satanic. It is Washington, D.C. It's the greatest story never told.
So, what is it about Washington that attracts such theories? To guide us around the city, local resident and conspiracy expert, Michelle Green.
I think that the workings of Washington, D.C. are pretty mysterious. We know that Congress meets in the Capitol, and those of us who live in this city know that there are other buildings where these various senators have offices and hold meetings constantly at taxpayer expense. Very few people really know what goes on during the day-to-day workings of the government. But I think that because Washington, D.C. is such a magnet for powerful people and for power, that tends to attract conspiracy theories, and that in turn tends to attract conspiracy theorists.
People have a good reason to be suspicious of the government because there's been a record of deception on the part of the government in relation to a lot of major events like the Vietnam War, assassination of President Kennedy,
Watergate, Iran-Contra.
Wake up when the Branch Davidians were slaughtered.
When you have this endless stream of untruths or distortions, falsehoods, whatever you want to call it, from government, naturally people are going to lose their faith and lose their trust.
Washington's conspiracies have even passed into the mainstream, with TV programs such as The X-Files presenting a vision of just one secretive government department, the Federal Building of Investigation.
The building to the right of us right now is the FBI building, which has been connected to just about any conspiracy on a national level that is imaginable. From watching movies, one would think that the FBI does absolutely nothing but pursue the mafia and chase down rumors about aliens, although, in fact, I'm told that the FBI doesn't even have a division like the X-Files. They are completely unconcerned with the paranormal. I don't think everyone necessarily believes them when they make that claim.
American citizens have good reason to be suspicious of the FBI. In the 1950s, under Director J. Edgar Hoover, the Bureau kept thousands of files on citizens during the communist witch hunts. It's rumored that with the information held in this archive, the FBI had the power to destroy anyone from movie stars and senators to police chiefs and even presidents.
This building over here is, these are the congressional buildings. Many of the decisions and meetings of the U.S. Congress will actually go on in people's private offices and conference rooms here, not in the Capitol building. Thousands upon thousands of dollars of taxpayer money goes into that building, and a small group of primarily affluent white males takes control of it, and no one is completely sure what happens to most of it. So in that sense, it certainly looks a lot like the conspiracies we see in Hollywood. The small cabal that's secretly controlling the country.
Accusations of skullduggery are nothing new to Washington. Some believe a mysterious secret society has been at the heart of the Capitol from the day it was built.
People who designed the city designed it according to Freemasonic beliefs in the sacred power of geometry. And it may be that they meant for those shapes embodied by the city itself to imbue the area with power.
Washington, D.C. is laid out in a series of pentagrams, and a pentagram is a Masonic symbol. Conspiracy theorists believe there were sinister motives among the founders when they set up Washington as a power base from which they could rule the world.
Many of the founding fathers were Masons, and a lot of the very preliminary designs that were approved may have been Masonically influenced. If you look at what's been known as the giant phallus, the Washington Monument, as the center, it's kind of in the middle of a pentagram, and the city spreads out from that point. Now, I know that in Masonic and occult lore, the five-pointed star and the six-pointed star are both very important symbols, and these kind of recur again and again all over the city when you look at maps, the way streets bisect one another.
Sinister shapes, occult symbols, and could the architecture even be called satanic?
When you take a look at the obelisk, which is 550 feet high, they didn't just drop it on top of the grass. It would fall over in some sort of earthquake. They generally put 20% of the structure beneath the ground. 20% of 555 is 111. Add them together, it's 666. The pentagram is a satanic symbol.
And apparently Masonic symbolism is there to see on every dollar bill.
Take a look at the pyramid on the backside of the American dollar bill on the left. It says Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new social order of the ages, the New World Order. And then it says Anno et Coeptus, meaning our enterprise is crowned with success. These are Masonic symbols.
The Masons are often subject of a lot of conjecture in conspiracy circles, and if in Washington, D.C. in particular, this is no surprise because most of the United States presidents, J. Edgar Hoover, most senators and representatives are currently or have been at some point in their lives Masons.
14 presidents and 18 vice presidents, 5 chief justices, and the majority of the governors of the states, to be precise. In fact, Bill Clinton was one of the few presidents not to be a Freemason.
The White House is probably the single most famous building in Washington. It's perceived as the seat of power and has had conspiracies associated with it, everything from presidents' mistresses dying under bizarre circumstances to there are people who believe that there are tunnels running from under the White House to Shangri-La on the other side of the world. To my left is the Watergate Hotel, which has been associated with the biggest scandal in American political history and also with many minor ones. Of course, most people know it best as the building where the Democratic headquarters were located when Richard Nixon and associates were accused of spying on them. More recently, it's famous because it's where Monica Lewinsky and her mother were staying at the time of her involvement with President Clinton and that scandal.
But there's one Washington building that has more conspiracies attached to it than any other. Located in Hell's Bottom in Arlington, Virginia, just over 3 miles from the White House, the Pentagon is the largest government building in the world. It's headquarters of the Army, Navy, Marine Corps and Air Force, and is so shrouded in secrecy that its very name has become a byword for sinister plots and dark designs.
I'm not sure exactly what's going on there at any given moment, and neither is anybody else, which makes it the center of many Washington, D.C. conspiracies. Unlike the major branches of the United States government, the military really isn't obligated to disclose everything that it's doing. There are a lot more safeguards protecting its secrets. So if there's a giant warehouse containing DNA samples from every American, they could very well be in the Pentagon.
Its secretive nature has meant that over the years the Pentagon has been associated with a number of extraordinary events. From allowing the CIA to test LSD on volunteer GIs in the 1950s, to spraying germs on unwitting citizens in a US subway during a military experiment. But the Pentagon insists its role is benign.
Well, there are a lot of things that go on here. I mean, it's very serious work that's done here. It's, keeping, as we see it, the free world free, with the help from our friends, of course. But there has to be a great deal of secrecy involved in that. And that's just the nature of diplomacy and military organizations.
This military complex gets hundreds of billions of US dollars. And although the Pentagon accounts for most of what it does with these public funds, one area of its budget remains a secret. That too has spawned its own conspiracy theories.
What they call the black budget in the military is that portion of military expenditures which go to secret projects. Things like the stealth bomber. It's not secret anymore, but for a long time that was the most secret project Who knows what's being worked on now, but basically what it means is the area of our military budget where our tax dollars go, and we don't know where they're going. We just have to wait until there's another war.
Of course, there are a lot of black projects that are conducted here, and 20 years from now we can read about them, but in the meantime, they're secret, and it's necessary to have that kind of secrecy to protect the workings of the Department of Defense.
A number of now famous black budget projects have become public. The U-2 spy plane, the B-2 stealth bomber, and the SR-71 Blackbird. But one US government area which remains secret gobbles up much of this black budget. It's found over 2,000 miles from Washington at Groom Lake, Nevada.
There are definitely places on Earth which are secret and kept secret by the governments. Area 51 in Nevada, for example, was a place whose existence was denied until very recently. Did not even appear on maps unless you had access to a Soviet satellite photograph which showed that indeed Area 51 was an air base that existed secretly in the desert, and has been used to test fly advanced craft.
This top-secret military base was set up in the 1950s to develop black budget projects. But it wasn't until 1987 that the US government admitted Area 51 was there. Since then, the complex has generated extraordinary conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theorists believe that the US military has acquired alien flight technology and is using it to build the next generation of military aircraft.
There is a group, though, that comes by periodically and wants us to show them the space aliens that allegedly we have in the basement. But the basement's under construction and we haven't found any space aliens down there.
So perhaps the Pentagon is not working with aliens. But it's been rumored it has been experimenting with mind control to create the perfect military machine.
The best soldier is a zombie robot. If you can control a human's mind, a soldier's mind, you can turn them into a zombie robot.
That would be a new one on me. Mind control, I don't know of any work being done on that. But then again, I showed up for your interview, so maybe there is something to that.
Conspiracy theorists say that experiments, whether on aliens or zombie soldiers, take place deep underground.
This theory of the United States military being in collusion with aliens was fed by a number of researchers, one of whom worked for the CIA, who came out with stories of vast underground bases and tunnel systems in which aliens and American military workers work side by side.
Well, there's some definitely documented cases that there are underground tunnels beneath military bases. Considering the $300 billion a year budget the Pentagon has, such claims of such exorbitant buildings certainly seems plausible.
It's true that many sensitive US military operations are buried deep underground, protected from foreign satellites and nuclear attack. And it's not just the army that have a subterranean bolt hole. The president, too, has his own 5-star bunker. Deep in the forests of West Virginia lies what used to be the most closely guarded of US military secrets. Set in 6,500 acres, the Greenbrier Hotel is one of the most exclusive resorts in the world. But underneath is the secret Greenbrier. Behind 25-ton nuclear blast doors is a network of tunnels containing everything needed to support hundreds of members of the US Congress in time of nuclear war.
Above ground, it's about as elegant as you'll find in the world, and below ground, it has all the physical comforts and lifestyle comforts of a World War II submarine.
Was a place where the government would go to do the business in the event of a nuclear attack, germ warfare attack, and so forth. And this place is there. It can be seen. You can go there and see for yourself that it in fact exists.
For conspiracy theorists, the underground world has yet another dimension beyond bunkers, alien resting places, and presidential shelters. Buried deep down are giant supercomputers, designed to keep tabs on worldwide communication. In charge of this surveillance is the NSA.
The National Security Agency has a program called Echelon.
They monitor, or are alleged to monitor, because none of this information is public, all communications going in and out of the United States.
The NSA spies on the electronic communications of virtually anyone they want to.
And basically its job is to record every conversation, every email, and so on and so forth.
It can be a private individual, a commercial company, a government agency, anywhere in the world.
What they do is they then search through these communiques for keywords. Who knows what they are? Communism, I don't know, who knows? But if you make a phone call and you use one of these keywords, your phone call is going to then be selected out by the computer and maybe analyzed by an intelligence analyst or by another computer. So, this idea that Big Brother is actually listening to your conversations and monitoring your communications is actually true.
Not everyone agrees with this analysis.
The NSA is the part of the American intelligence structure that deals with code breaking and protecting American communications against other countries.
But some people are not convinced that this level of surveillance is in the citizens' interest.
Much of this high-secret surveillance is carried forth under the rubric of national security, but I and many other people increasingly think that the real truth is it's carried out under the guise of national insecurity. It violates our human liberties.
Washington, the Pentagon, even Area 51. We may not know what really goes on there, but at least we know they exist. But there's one place which, for all we know, might only exist in the minds of dedicated conspirologists. There's no hard evidence to go on, just an extraordinary history. On the 19th of February 1947, American explorer Rear Admiral Richard Byrd of the US Navy flew to the South Pole. It's said that when he came back, he wrote down what had happened on this expedition. Conspiracy theorists have interpreted this record as proof that Richard Byrd had indeed discovered an entrance to the center of the Earth.
The hollow Earth theory is that the center of the Earth is hollow with an empty space, and that people or creatures inhabit this area inside the center of the Earth.
And that inside the Earth live some sort of super beings.
Some say they're demons, others have said no, they're just the basis for stories of gnomes and trolls.
They're tall, reptilian humanoid creatures that are very advanced.
There's a hole in the Antarctic, supposedly, where these creatures fly out of and fly back into, and there's a whole, allegedly, super civilization living inside the planet.
And between that inside area and the exterior of the planet are tunnel systems or cave and cavern systems that basically vein the entire planet.
Once you accept the fact that the Earth could be hollow, you can take any of the mysteries and use that as your basis, and you'll find that there are no longer mysteries.
Skeptics of the hollow Earth theory claim that Rear Admiral Byrd's notebooks have been misinterpreted.
I think you can read his statements and find a much more mundane explanation for them, but stated in poetic terms. I believe he said something about the land beyond the South Pole is a place of wonder, a secret place of wonder, something like that.
What he is meant to have said is, I'd like to see that land beyond the pole. That area beyond the pole is the center of a great unknown. And this was enough to trigger the thought in some minds that the Earth could be hollow. So how likely is that?
Since we have not yet sent a probe down to the center of the Earth, we still are basing all of our knowledge on the interior of the Earth on theory and hypothesis. And just because one person is a scientist doesn't mean that his hypothesis or theory is any better than somebody else.
Even present-day governments are fueling the conspiracy.
The government has thrown many hints. They've taken photographs and given them to key people who investigate these things and then ridicule them later, and it's all a misinformation game.
The Hollow Earthers also claim US legislation that prevents citizens from exploring caves is specifically aimed at stopping them reaching the Earth's center.
You're not allowed to go into a cave or a natural opening in the Earth without a federal cave permit or a federal cave expert with you. And also, any locations of caves that are otherwise on government property or public property that the public doesn't know about, they cannot, through the Freedoms of Information Act, sequester the government for the information as to where those caves are. So there is a concentrated effort to keep people from exploring the underworld.
So if you go along with this, why are governments keeping their knowledge of the Hollow Earth secret?
The big cover-up is if the people found out that there was a tropical paradise inside the Earth, they would migrate, and it would end the New World Order, and they would have to start all over again.
So, life in the Hollow Earth, aliens in caves, Masonic symbols in architecture, phallic symbols in abundance, are they all just the products of a fevered imagination?
Paranoia is a problem amongst conspiracy thinkers, but not all conspiracy thinkers. A lot of them are very diligent and rigorous and try to go only where the evidence leads. Unfortunately, it's the more sensationalistic theories that attract the most attention for obvious reasons. On the other hand, there's the famous saying that just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.